hello, everybody, and welcome to the Off-Farm Income Podcast, episode number 8. This is your host, Matt Breckwald, and thank you for joining us again. Hey, I have just got to say that for our small little state of Idaho, about 1.5 million people in all these square miles of this state, today's kind of a significant day. The President of the United States, Barack Obama, just landed in Boise, so about 20 minutes from where I'm sitting. Landed there about, half hour ago or so. And to have a sitting president land in Idaho and in Boise is a big deal for the state. It doesn't happen that often. And I've got to tell you, I've talked quite a bit about on our podcast about my previous career as a police officer. And I get the question a lot from other officers that I'm still friends with who I run into, and they're still there at the department, and they always ask me, do you miss it? Do you miss it? Do you miss it? And I always tell them the same thing. When something significant's going on, yeah, I do miss it. I miss being involved with the team and with the camaraderie when there's something major going on. The run-of-the-mill day-to-day stuff, the commuting to town, and the routine work and the strict schedule and all those things, I don't miss that. I don't. But today is one of those days where, as I'm watching the news and I see guys that I worked with for several years standing out there as the president is getting off of Air Force One, and I know all of the logistical planning and all of the traffic control and the coordination with the Secret Service and the different SWAT teams and everything that goes into an event, like having the president come to town. Yeah, I get tugs. I miss it a little bit at those points in time to be involved in something that significant. And I actually got to be involved in something that significant twice. I was the lead car when Vice President Dick Cheney came to Boise several years ago, and my job was to get ahead of the motorcade and to shut down traffic on the interstate as they went around to downtown Boise. And I did that, and I can't say I did it flawlessly. I almost messed up and let cars in between myself and the motorcade, but I got it worked out. And then George Bush came here. George W. Bush came here a few years towards the end of his last term in office, and I got to be part of the security detail out in Nampa, Idaho, to guard him. And it is an impressive display, no matter what your political affiliation, no matter who the the sitting president is. To be involved in an event of that magnitude is it's something significant to be involved in and to see. And definitely on days like today, I get those tinges of wishing I was still involved. But with that said, I'm sitting here with you, and I am so happy to be here. I have been waiting to do this for a long time, and I'm finally getting the chance. And so I am excited that today you and I are going to continue our journey to the ultimate lifestyle business of agriculture. We are going to interview an entrepreneur who has found a way to combine his passion for hunting with his business. That's right, he has figured out a way to take what he loves to do and turn that into his business so he can be doing it all the time. He is going to define that motto that if you love your job, you'll never work a day in your life. So, for all of you, if you want to farm and you want to live in rural areas, you're going to be around wildlife, you're going to be around hunting, and today's guest is supporting his rural lifestyle by helping people improve the wildlife habitat that is on their land. So, without further ado, let's get to this interview. Hey everybody, welcome to the interview that we've got for you today with Al Wisnefske, a wildlife consultant with Kettle Moraine Wildlife Consulting in Wisconsin. Al, how are you?
I'm good. How are you doing today?
Hey, I'm great. Thank you so much for coming on the Off-Farm Income Podcast with me today.
Well, thanks for having me. It's an honor.
Oh, well, that's very flattering for you to say that. So we are very interested in learning more about what you do today in wildlife consulting, and we've got a number of questions for you. So let's get started. What do you say?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Okay. Well, let's start off like we start them all off, Al. Can you tell me a little bit about you personally?
Sure. Well, I'm a recent college grad from the University of Wisconsin-Stevens Point. I majored in business administration there.
Okay.
I'm from a family of 5, and we live in southeastern Wisconsin, and I'm big to the outdoorsy lifestyle. Hunting and deer pretty much seem to consume my life right now, and that has led me to a career as a real estate agent with Mossy Oak Properties, as well as starting my own business, which we were talking about, Kettle Moraine Wildlife Consulting.
Okay. So you're a real estate agent as well. Are you selling or at least trying to sell the type of properties that you're interested in for hunting?
Yeah, Mossy Oak Properties deals mainly with the rural and recreational properties, but we will also do, regular real estate as well.
So how do I spell that? You said Montios Properties, is that correct?
Mossy Oak Properties.
Oh, Mossy Oak.
It's the Camel brand.
Yeah, now that I've got it, I have seen their ads.
Yeah, I don't know if they have offices in Idaho yet, but they're growing pretty fast.
Okay, and they specialize in recreational properties. Is that correct?
Correct.
Gotcha. So our listeners who are listening to this, if they're interested in that, they can find you. Well, we'll put your contact information up at the end, but they could contact you to purchase hunting ground and recreational ground. Is that correct?
And list with us too.
And list with you. Awesome. Okay. Yep. Very cool. How long have you been doing that now?
I just started. I graduated in December, and I've been doing that since.
Since then?
Fairly new to it.
Very cool. So that's kind of exciting. You're just brand new and probably full of enthusiasm and excitement about what you're doing.
Every day.
Very cool. And how long have you been doing the wildlife consulting?
Well, we've been managing our own lands for probably 10 years now, but now recently I took it up a notch and kind of invested in myself to get educated and then wanted to do this as a career. So it's fairly new.
Very cool. So tell me about it. Tell me about your business and how it works.
So Kettle Moraine Wildlife Consulting, it's a wildlife management firm. We like to talk and visit with hunters and landowners. And when we do that, we can, take pictures, take soil samples, get a real sense of what's going on with the property. And with that, we can put a wildlife management plan together, which can be from, anywhere from 8 to 15 pages with various maps and recommendations that correspond with that property. And, we look at what the landowner wants to succeed on. And we have a really, really talented network of, land specialists that we collaborate with. So they're going to be getting the best.
Awesome. So you guys are getting really technical. I didn't realize you guys were pulling soil samples and doing all of that. Sure.
A lot with the food plots, you want to make sure you have good fertile soil. You're going to have to put fertilizer and lime down to make sure that it, get a good pH and a lot of that stuff.
Sure. Yeah, out here in Idaho, we've got really alkali soils, which impacts what we grow. What are things like back in Wisconsin?
It can vary across the state, but I know where we hunt in central Wisconsin, it's very sandy there. So you have to be careful with, it's well drained, so you got to make sure your crops are watered good. We have a lot of irrigation systems up there, so, it varies depending on where you're on the state, though.
Gotcha. And so then do you guys go on to find a contractor to help them plant these food plots, or do most of your customers have the equipment and the experience to do that themselves?
Sure. Well, starting out, we like to get into a contract for 2 years because, you can see results in a year, but you really have to be doing this long term in order to reap the benefits. So we like to do 2 years, and then, we can revisit the topic if you want to change some things or not. Right now, we're more just on the consulting side. We can connect people with the people that do, food plots or logging and stuff like that. We actually have someone that's going to be a certified forester in May. So we are growing that way, but as of right now, we're just the consulting.
Very cool. And then how did you guys get your name? Kettle Moraine seems kind of unique to me.
Well, the area that I grew up in is known as the Kettle Moraine, where there's like the Kettle Moraine State Forest, and a bunch of other companies use Kettle Moraine as their business, so I kind of liked it, so I ran with it.
Gotcha. Okay, well that makes sense. Yeah, my individual business is called Idaho Gopher Control, so that's pretty obvious where that one comes from.
Yeah.
All right, well, it's kind of obvious, or you kind of already answered how you picked this business, but run through that with us one more time. How did you pick this business? You said you started about 10 years ago.
Sure. So it was last year already, the quality deer management, I was looking on their website, and they had these certification courses for deer stewards. So you can take them and learn about quality deer management, what it takes to land man and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So I took that, and I took it, the first one, in about a week. It was online, and it was a couple $100, and I really liked it. And so I started talking to people about what they can do on their property. But I needed more training. So then they also offer their level 2, which is more of a hands-on in the field. So this past September, I flew out to Hornell, New York, and that was for about 3 days. And we pretty much did nothing but look at a property, break it apart, and then put everything together into a plan. And then the end result is a great hunting property. So that kind of led me to today, and I wanted to, spread that message of the Quality Management Association and, share that with people.
So when you guys do this on a property, are you trying to increase the number of mature bucks, or are you trying to increase the size, or both?
Well, like I said before, that every property is unique, but the main goal, is you want to increase the number of mature bucks, but you also want to have that correct balance of deer for your carrying capacity. A lot of people think the Quality Deer Management Association is about killing, big trophy bucks every year, but it's really understanding how your land works, the number of deer and other wildlife you can support, rather than, growing, trophy bucks. There's a lot of, the end result of managing your land property will be big bucks anyways.
Sure.
But it's just being, a steward of the land.
Okay. And you said that you've got a business degree. Is that correct?
Correct.
So how does a guy with a business degree learn about soil science? Is that through those specialty classes you took?
Right. That was, well, I've always had an interest in hunting and that stuff. So I kind of carried that with me throughout, till today. And then I just took it upon myself to learn more about it. We used to, we kind of, when we'd manage our land, we'd kind of guess, and then, stuff wouldn't work out. So, I've always wanted to learn more, so I just, took the time and spent the money to do that.
Very cool. And so you went out, you got the education to give you the expertise to be able to do this.
Correct. Yep.
Okay, well, great. Well, on the Off Farm Income Podcast, what we're trying to do is we're trying to help people either discover a business that they could do to help support their farming enterprise, maybe a business they've never thought of, or if somebody already has an interest in a specific business, helping them to figure out how exactly to make that work, and using the benefit of your previous experience to help them avoid some of maybe mistakes that have been made in the past or pitfalls they've made in the business. So let's launch into that and talk about some of the specifics of how you got your business up and going. Does that sound all right?
Sure.
Okay.
Yep.
Well, let's start off with marketing. That's something I like to talk about quite a bit. Al, how do you market Kettle Moraine Wildlife Consulting?
Sure. So being a very small startup, my budget is very limited. So what I first did was, when I was bored and just sitting around, I just threw a logo and a website together. And then I was like, this is cool. I'd like to do this. So I started on Twitter and Craigslist, which has led me here today. So obviously that stuff worked. And I just got my Facebook page set up. So I like to use the free services, and then also visiting with other businesses that are similar or in the area.
Okay.
So very just getting the word out.
So you're kind of going old school and new school in the sense that you're getting out on foot, contacting people, letting them know what's going on, but you're also getting on social media and spreading the word that way. Is that a fair assessment?
Yep.
And that's a recurring theme just for our listeners as you're developing your businesses. A lot of times, and I don't know what your experience was with this, Al, but with me, I use Facebook and I use Twitter to promote my gopher control business and the podcast as well. But with the gopher business, initially I started out going, I know I'm supposed to do this. I know this is going to help me find customers, but I have got no idea how this is going to work. But ultimately what I had to do was just stick with it, and keep working. And, you just don't know when it's going to occur. But then I had this watershed moment where somebody who was part of an organization here in the Treasure Valley of Idaho where I live, they had heard about my service. Somebody else in their group had asked if anybody knew of a private contractor that could deal with gophers. They put up my company name, and all of a sudden my company name spread like wildfire throughout this group, and my reputation did, and all of a sudden it had the effect I was hoping it would have. Have you seen any results like that from social media?
It's still pretty early to tell, but I mean, there's people that I've never met before who have, connected with me on that. So it's slow right now, but I can definitely see where you would say that, because it does work. That's how it's supposed to work, I guess.
Well, yeah, absolutely. Well, and I mean, if you're connecting with prospects who you've never met before and somehow they've learned of your business, then it's working.
Right.
I mean, those are people that you would have never ever known about, and they would not have known about your business in any other way, I would guess.
Yep.
All right. Well, so at the beginning, you talked about starting up with a very small amount of startup capital, which is actually something that we absolutely like to talk about on the Off-Farm Income podcast, because we're looking at what we're not trying to do is we're not trying to give people the conventional old idea where they have to go out and get a bunch of venture capital or a big loan or something like that is going to put them deeply into debt to start a business. We're trying to give somebody something that's reasonable to get into, and then can start giving them a return on their investment as quickly as possible so they can support their farming enterprise. Tell us how you funded your business in the beginning.
Well, all of my funding has been out of my pocket. I spent the LLC filing fee, and then I just got 100 gift cards, or not gift cards, business cards. And so that's all I've pretty much bought. Like I said, the marketing that I do is with free services, and I still use the laptop and printer I got my freshman year of college. So I pretty much don't have a lot invested into it. And I think that's what's great about the service industry, is you don't need all that plant and equipment when you first start out.
Yeah, I could not agree more. I just did my podcast episode last week, or I shouldn't say last week, but it'll be episode number 7, which is about my gopher control business and how I started that, and I kind of interviewed myself. And I had a little more outlay at the beginning, but really in terms of businesses, very small startup capital with high return on investment. So you're absolutely right about service businesses in the way that they reward you in that manner. At what point in the development of your business did you realize that this was going to work?
Sure. Well, before I went at it, considering that it was, my job to do this, it was just a project that I was working on. And, at first couple of days or, weeks, months, I was kind of wondering why I chose this.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember at one point in my last semester of school where I put the project off. I just stopped working on it to kind of, see what other career options there were. But, doing something other than working for myself and, starting companies, there's some other companies that I would like to start later on, but it just wasn't going to work for me to work for somewhere else.
Sure.
So I started to become, kind of my business. I think about it all day, how I can make it better. And for obvious reasons, I have, financial goals. But for me, I don't really rely on the finances to conclude that it was a success or not. I'm happy, doing what I do, and I like meeting new people. I like talking deer and hunting. You have that story that you started from there, and now you're here.
Mm-hmm.
So when you realize that, that's what I consider a success.
Well, and I describe the same type of thing, that I put lifestyle ahead of the income.
Right.
The lifestyle, because I did that. I did 15 years in the career job with the regimented schedule and the supervisors and the bureaucracy and all that. And now that I've changed my lifestyle, it's exponentially better. And really, regardless of what I make, I want to continue with this lifestyle, this sense of freedom and doing something that I'm really interested in doing. So, yeah, we're completely
awesome.
The same on that. Yeah, it's great. Okay, well, let's get on to talking about some advice. If there's somebody who is going to want to follow in your footsteps, they're passionate about hunting, they're passionate about working outdoors and with people and with the land and things like that. What are the three most important pieces of advice you'd give to them?
Sure. So the first one I have is educate yourself. Even if you think you know everything, there are people out there that know more than you do.
Sure.
Being in a consulting, people are paying for you, your services, and your opinion. So you might have a piece of paper from a university, but that doesn't mean anything if you can't apply it to your customers and ultimately your business. So what I like to do is I like to read a lot of books. I enroll in classes. There's a class coming up that the University of Madison is offering on conservation, so I'm going to be taking that.
Mm-hmm.
And then I also look at magazines, websites, anything to find new information. I have a specific hour each day where all I do is look for new information.
Oh, and you've got a dedicated hour. You're that disciplined in that.
Oh, I have to be.
That hour of the day is devoted just to finding that.
Yep.
Very interesting. And we like to say it exactly what you're saying. A lot of times we'll frame it in the sense of invest in yourself because when you say educate yourself, some people they only think of school. They only think of going to school or something like that. But there's really, if you look at it, there's a lot of different ways to educate yourself, would you say?
Definitely.
All right.
It's very easy to find.
Okay, very cool. Well, do you have another piece of advice for our listeners?
Sure. Motivate yourself. I mean, there's going to be people who doubt your idea, and if you truly believe in your idea in business, it won't really matter what other people think. Like I said before, you become your business. So this is going to sound really weird, but the first investment I made for my business was a set of $20 speakers. And the reason I did that was because they're songs that motivate me. They get me focused on what I want in life.
Uh-huh.
And so when I hear them, I'm so focused to get things done. And if you find something like that, I highly recommend use it.
Really? So can you tell us one of those songs?
Oh, anything by Florida Georgia Line right now. It's really getting me going.
Awesome. All right, and do you have a third one for us, Al?
Sure, and it's be humble. That's because you're going to have success and you're going to have failures. And when you have success, you can give yourself credit where credit is due, but you got to continue to strive for more. So when you have failures, don't give up because it's not the end of the world. I used to think having one failure was the end of the world, but it's not. You just have to use it as a learning opportunity. And one of my role models for business success is Richard Rawlings from Fast and Loud on the Discovery Channel. I don't know if you watch that.
I haven't.
But when he succeeds, you'll know just by watching him. He's an awesome dude. But when he's faced with possible failure, he just keeps motoring and he gets stuff done. And he's doing something he loves to do. He loves to work on, restoring old cars, and he turned that into his career. So it's kind of my role model.
Awesome. And you had mentioned that when you tell your friends or your family about what you're doing, there's going to be a lot of people that are going to doubt that you can be successful.
Sure.
That's something we talk about too. A lot of times when people try, a lot of times when you're entrepreneurial and you've got an idea and you've got a dream, it may be very clear in your own mind, but it may be almost impossible to explain it to other people in a way that they're going to get it, and they're not going to be able to see it in the same light that you see it in your own mind. And that's especially true for people who are still of the mindset that you've got to work in a job for 30 years and get a pension, and you've got to have job security and all that type of stuff. So a lot of times what I'll recommend to people is divert the conversation. Don't even attempt to explain your dream because they're not going to get it, and you're going to walk away from that conversation with somebody you respect, having a little bit of self-doubt because they don't see it, they don't get it, and they think you're doing something foolish. Have you had a similar experience to that?
Right. I was just going to say that, what was going to stop me from being an entrepreneur was having that image of how I guess a normal life is. You either, you get a job out of high school or you go to college and then get a job and then you buy a house, a car, you kind of live life that way.
Sure.
So I used to think that was how it was for everyone. And then I realized a while ago that I don't really do stuff the traditional way. So when I think of something I want to do, I just do it my way. And that's kind of what you're referring to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and a lot of people just don't get that. Mm-hmm. All right. Well, getting more into the nuts and bolts of the business, let's talk about business planning. Because you've got the business degree, did you write a formalized business plan before you began?
Sure. I did. It was really short. It wasn't too in depth. My dad always told me to get a business plan, but I always was thinking of new stuff and kind of diverted from the business plan. And one of the books that I recommend to read was the $100 Startup. It's by Chris Guillebeau, I believe his last name is pronounced, and he gives you a template for just a simple one-page business plan. So I did that, and that's pretty much all I needed to get started.
Okay. And you're our first interviewee who has done a business plan, if you can believe that or not. But you said it was a pretty simple and short business plan. How did it help you?
It really helped me explain what I do, because I focused on like just an overview of the business, and I typed that down and got it to where it was easy to repeat to people, and then I can elaborate on that if they have any questions. But it was really just to clear up any confusion that people might have on exactly what I do.
Gotcha. So it kind of put it all into a framework that was easy to explain, it sounds like.
Yep, exactly.
Okay. And my next question is, did you incorporate your business or form an LLC? But it sounds like you did form an LLC.
Yes, I formed an LLC just because I'm by myself, and I like the tax benefits of it.
Okay. So it was for tax purposes solely?
Yeah, and I had a business law professor who said if you don't form LLCs, you're an idiot. So I kind of figured I should listen to him.
So he must have been a professor you respected, since you followed that advice.
Yeah, he was a pretty cool guy.
Okay. And we talk a lot about forming an LLC for the purposes of liability protection. Did that come into play for you at all?
Yes, it did. I wanted to separate the personal from the business.
Okay. And that's another thing we stress too, is that when you do form an LLC, make sure that you keep things extremely separate. Don't commingle funds. Don't mix those things together. Otherwise, if you ever do get sued for some reason, it'd be very difficult to distinguish what's personal and what's business.
Exactly.
Okay. All right. Well, in your particular business, if you had to go back to just one piece of equipment to get started, what would that be?
Honestly, I think it's just a computer, because you can look at, I do a lot of the aerial mapping and stuff like that, so I need to use software like that. So if I use that, and then I can type up plans, so that's basically all I really needed.
Okay. And so, there's multiple different levels of computers in terms of their sophistication and their cost. For our listeners who are interested in doing what you do, what level are we talking about? Can they get in with a $400 laptop, or does it have to be something that's like $1,500, or where are they at?
My computer, it's the one that I've had my freshman year, so it's a MacBook, but I know people because with the real estate, it's kind of the same software that we use, and they have just, regular, you can go buy them for cheaper laptops.
Okay. All right. So laptops like in that $400 or $500 range are going to work?
Yeah.
Yeah,
definitely.
For the software you're using. Okay. And my next question is, how did you find your customers? And you kind of touched on that earlier, so maybe I'll tweak that a little bit. What's been the most successful for you in finding your customers?
Just talking to people that you know. I have a lot of friends that are in the outdoor industry, either just for like hunting by themselves. They like to talk about that stuff, so it's just a very good conversation piece. I've also sent some emails to other companies that aren't necessarily in Wisconsin, but they do the same line of work, so I get advice that way, and also just free services.
Okay.
Can't stress that enough.
Well, let's talk about that a little bit. Tell me about free services and what you're doing for free to help generate business.
Sure. So I don't know if you guys we have the Wisconsin Outdoor News. I don't know if you guys have. That might just be a Midwest thing.
Okay.
But online there's called a marketplace, and you can put a posting in there for free. So I've done that, and I've gotten recognition from that. The website that I created, that was with a free service, and then obviously the social media.
Okay. Okay, so what you're talking about is taking advantage of all the free resources that are out there that can help you market and find people.
Exactly.
I see. Okay, sometimes we talk about going out and doing stuff for free, and as a way to prove yourself to people and show people that you're credible and you know what you're doing, and that's what I thought you were getting at. But you're talking about the resources you can take advantage of.
Yep.
Okay, got it. And then word of mouth marketing. You're talking about talking to people and word of mouth spreading and things like that. With somebody who is going to hire you and who's going to take advantage of your service and your expertise, what is the conversation you have with them? How do you convince them that they need your service?
I'm sure I don't speak for everyone on this, but at least in Wisconsin, there's kind of a negative perception of the Wisconsin DNR, and the DNR offers programs to help landowners, but I think it's that government idea that they don't want them on their property or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where I can step in as someone that's been there, rather than someone that's just getting paid to be in a political office, I guess.
Okay. And so when you say the DNR, does that represent the Department of Natural Resources?
Yeah.
Oh, nice. I got it on the first try. Okay. All right. So there's somebody who has an interest in improving their land, but they don't necessarily want to work with the public services available to them.
Correct. Yep.
Okay. So you can fill that void, you can fill that gap and provide that service.
Yep.
Okay. All right. And so if you were going to start this business today, if it was going to be your very first day ever and you said, this is what I'm going to need to do this business, how much money would you need to start it up? And include your training too, the courses you've taken, like at Cornell.
Okay. So the courses, I would say, because you had to fly out and have a hotel,
Mm-hmm.
so that's probably, I'd say, roughly $2,000. And then, so I'd say courses are probably around $2,500, and then just the LLC, I'd say $3,000 if you wanted to be educated.
Okay. And so if somebody is sitting there in their cubicle right now going, I can't believe it'd be possible for me to go make a living talking to people out in the woods and on their farm ground about hunting, and all I need is $3,000 to get started, they could probably pick up an extra job for a month, maybe 2 months, and they'd have the money they needed to start up this business.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, that's great. That's exactly.
Because you don't need to do it. You don't need to do it all right away. I mean, you can at least get the filing for the company, and then start marketing that this is what you're doing, and you can learn as you go.
Okay. All right. And so are you offering more products or services now than when you first started?
That is in the works.
Okay.
I don't want to say too much, but yes, that is the plan.
Okay. Yeah, no problem. I understand that when we've got an idea, we want to get it ready, or at least about 80% ready, before we let the rest of the world know about it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I totally get that, and that's just fine. What time of the year are you busiest in this business?
It's going to be right after hunting season, because there's going to be people that are pretty upset that they didn't see the quality of activity that they thought they would, so they want some more information how to make it better.
I see. And so they're going to be hiring you and getting your advice and your thoughts over the winter, and then probably putting them into practice when it comes time to plant in the spring. Is that correct?
Yep.
Gotcha. Okay. And this business is not your sole form of income. You're complementing it with the real estate business. And is there any other sources of income for you right now?
Not right now, no.
Okay, so just those two.
Yep.
Awesome. Okay. So in the beginning, when you were thinking of going to work for yourself, like you were talking about that lifestyle, that expectation of get the job, buy the house, get the car payment, do all that type of stuff, what was stopping you from becoming an entrepreneur?
I think it was just, can I do it? There's a lot of self-doubt, I think.
Sure.
And it's kind of you take in the perception of what, if I do this and go out on a limb, what are other people going to think of what I'm doing? You got to I just brushed that aside and, kind of manned up and just did it.
Awesome. Okay. And, we talk quite a bit about how fear shuts people down. We talk about a concept called resistance. I don't know if you've read the book Do the Work by Stephen Pressfield, but he talks a lot about resistance. and how those things tend to want to stop you from doing something creative. So good for you pushing through.
Thank you.
Yeah, you bet. Well, we talked about advice, and you've gave our listeners some really, really good advice. What is the best business advice that you've ever received?
I don't know how factual this next line is, but my grandpa has a quote, and he says, 99% of the people in this world are a-holes. And I edited the last part for obvious reasons.
All right.
But I do carry that with me, and I do that because if you want to get something done and you want to do it your way, just do it. You don't need someone else telling you what to do and bringing you down. So that's what I think being an entrepreneur is all about, is just you have an idea, so run with it.
Well, in a sense, I think your grandpa is 100% correct in that if there's something you want to do and it's creative and the upside can be so fantastic and the lifestyle can be so great, there's going to be people that don't have the courage to go and try it themselves, but they're going to want to bring you down because you're doing it and they're not.
Right, exactly.
It sounds to me like what your grandpa's kind of saying.
I just don't know if 99% of the people are, but there's a couple nice people out there.
Well, I will tell you from experience, I spent 15 years as a police officer, and even after 15 years as a police officer, I wouldn't go as high as 99% either. But I get it. Okay. So tell us about a personal habit that's contributing to your success today.
I am a very organized person. I like to have my papers set the right way, right in the folders, and basically just everything lined up perfectly. So I really know where everything is.
Okay. And so how is that contributing to your success? What's that? What does that either keep you from doing or help you accomplish?
It just makes everything, like if someone calls and they need to know about this, I know exactly where to find it. Or if I have a listing and I need to go on an appointment, I know exactly what to grab, and then I'm out the door right away.
Gotcha. And that
it makes me really efficient.
Okay. And I bet in the eyes of your customers, your prospective customers, it makes you look very professional as well.
Exactly. Yeah, that's a huge part of it, is looking professional. Acting the part.
Sure. Well, it doesn't sound to me like you're acting. It sounds to me like that's probably what's actually going on.
Probably a bad word to use.
That's fine. That's fine. Fake it till you make it, right? I mean,
exactly.
we tell everybody, if you wait until you are 100% prepared, you are never going to start. That perfectionism will keep you from starting. So you got to get about 80% ready and then go for it. And then over the next, however long period of time, you're going to perfect what you're doing. And so there are times where you're not going to be as good as you will be at some point in the future. So
exactly.
Yeah, no problem there. Okay, well, you mentioned the $100 startup, and I think that's by Chris Gildebrand, if I remember right.
Yeah, Gila Boo or something like that.
Okay, well, I will look it up, and I will put that in the show notes. Any other books to recommend to our listeners?
Right now, I'm reading Ready, Fire, Aim by Michael Masterson.
Okay.
I haven't finished it yet, but it's pretty good. And then there's also one. It's Work Positive in a Negative World.
Work Positive in a Negative World, is that correct?
Yep.
For our listeners, just like always, I will link to all of those in the show notes of the show. And, of course, to support us, the Off-Farm Income Podcast, and to keep bringing you content like this that we're getting from Al, if you can click through the links on our show notes to purchase those books, that gives us a little kickback and keeps the website up and keeps the microphones on, so that'd be great. And thank you for those recommendations, Al.
Yeah, no problem.
All right, well, I'll get those up on the show notes. And then what is the best way for my listeners to contact you if they want to speak to you about what you're doing or even hire you or buy some real estate from you?
Sure. So I have two emails. I can answer to either one of them, but I prefer al.kmwc@gmail.com.
Okay. So I'll put that one up on the show notes. Okay. And that's the preferred email both for real estate, either listings or purchases, as well as hiring you for your consulting service.
Should I give the one for my real estate?
If that will be beneficial to you, then absolutely. Let's list it.
Okay. It's A and then my last name at mossioakproperties.com.
Well, thank you so much for being on the Off-Farm Income Podcast today, Al. It's really a pleasure, and what I'm enjoying so much about this is getting introduced to new business ideas that I've never known about or never thought of, and then getting some insight into how things work behind the scenes. So thank you for sharing so much.
And thanks for having me. Keep doing what you're doing.
Oh, I appreciate it. Thank you so much. And everybody out there, I hope you've enjoyed this interview with Al. And, Al, I didn't even ask you this, but you were talking about Twitter. Would you like it if our listeners were to go and link to you or to follow you on Twitter or Facebook or something like that?
Sure.
Okay, how would they find you on Twitter?
It's at Kettle MWC.
At Kettle MWC. So I will link up with you on Twitter as well. And everybody, you can thank Al for his appearance today on the Off-Farm Income Podcast by following him on Twitter. All right. Well, thanks so much, Al. Have a great day.
Yep. Thank you. You too.
All right. Well, a special thanks to Al Wisnefske for coming on the Off-Farm Income Podcast today. And please do me the favor of thanking our guests and thanking Al by going to contact him at the Kettle Moraine Wildlife Consulting's website. Go to their webpage, check them out, particularly if you live in Wisconsin and you are looking for somebody to assist you with this type of service. Also, please visit Kettle Moraine's Facebook page, like them on Facebook, follow them on Twitter, and you can, of course, email Al. And all of the links to Twitter and Facebook and his email and website will all be in the show notes at offincome.com, offincome.com. And for show feedback and guest suggestions, and we would love your guest suggestions, please contact me. That's Matt, M-A-T-T, at offincome.com. And last but not least, 5 ways to support the Off-Farm Income Podcast and keep us moving forward and bringing you these interviews and this content. Please go to the Off-Farm Income page on Facebook and click that like button for us. Go to at Matt Breckwald, MattBreckwald, on Twitter, and follow me there. That's where I post things about the Off-Farm Income Podcast as well as new episodes. Please subscribe to the podcast on iTunes or on Stitcher. Please purchase from our affiliates, which now includes Amazon as well as Dan Miller and the 48 Days website. And tell a friend. Please tell a friend, in person, online, on the phone, skywriting. We don't care. Spread the word if you think there's value here. Please tell a friend. And thank you so much. We look forward to talking to you again in just 7 short days. And go out and chase those agricultural dreams and find that ultimate lifestyle business of agriculture.